I'm really excited today because this is the first time that I'm recording in the Levitate Legal Think Big podcast room. And I got my new little camera set up. And so I am going to take a second just to let you guys see this room and how we've got it set up. And I'm really hoping that in the future, this room will be a spot, not just for me and the members of the Levitate Legal team to talk about some of the issues that are important to us, but also to for other members of this community to talk about things that impact the Montgomery area and all the residents of this region. So I'm really excited to be here. If I have not taken the time to say thank you, I do want to thank the people that have joined this group. A lot of you guys are my friends and family, but every day we're getting new members of Deuce's Wild from all parts of the 2nd Congressional District. Black, white, Democrat, Republican. And I think that's really cool because I think that as citizens, when we talk about politics in a way that is not so partisan, but is really just focused on all of the myriad of things that we have in common as people, wanting to have access to good jobs, wanting our children to have quality education, wanting to make sure that our urban areas thrive and that our rural areas thrive. When we can get back to those basic building blocks, I think we see that we have more in common than we have that divides us, A. And B, we force the people who are asking for our votes to be real with us and move away from some of that partisan talk that we hear a lot and really tell us where they stand on the issues. And so this is an important conversation, and I thank you guys for having this conversation with me. Thank you so much for that. So I'm not going to take up a lot of time because I do have to get back to work, but I wanted to drop a note in the comments. You are going to see a link to a Google Sheet that breaks down some information about each of the candidates. And I think with us having only 8 days until March the 5th, that many of you are probably looking to solidify the person that you're leaning towards voting for. Some of you are probably still figuring it out. And so we try to design this spreadsheet in a way that would allow you to do some quick comparisons. If a candidate is highlighted in red, that means that they are a Republican candidate. If they're highlighted in blue, that means they are a Democratic candidate. We've got the candidates listed in order of their fundraising. The folks who have raised the most money are the ones that are probably going to have the highest visibility in the district. I mean, these are individuals who are trying to reach as many people as possible. And so television and mail and radio are going to be the ways that they reach the most people. And that's really why fundraising is so critical to this process, good or bad. That's why it's such an important component. And so we've got all of the fundraising listed. So let me go through this spreadsheet really quickly so you'll know how to best navigate it. So obviously columns A and B are their names and political parties. Column C is their focus area. We did our best to look at their websites and some of the articles and their commercials and all sorts of things to kind of break down what their focus is. And so this is a summary of that. Look, we are human. And so if we have missed something, if you are a supporter of the campaign or a member of a campaign team and you see something that's incorrect here or something that we need to add, please shoot that to us in the comments, or you can direct message me and we'll get that updated. But we try to just give a quick breakdown of what each candidate's focus areas are. Column D is the total fundraising and or loans that each of these candidates have made to the campaign. This information is current as of February 14th. And so when you run for office, once you raise over $1,000, you have to file regular reports with the Federal Election Commission. And so the most recent report was due on Valentine's Day. And so we've listed those numbers for each campaign. You'll see that they're hyperlinked. If you click on the hyperlink, it's going to take you to their page so that you can see a breakdown. You can click on the itemized contributions if you're interested in knowing who's contributing to this campaign. You'll also see that there is a line item for loans. And so even if a candidate makes a loan to their campaign, they have to report that as well. When you look through these, you're going to see that many of these candidates have made loans to their campaign, some at very high amounts. And so I think that's important for everyone to look at. The column E is just their campaign website. And then column F is their endorsements. And so endorsements are a big part of political campaigns because people or entities that have established credibility or an established base, when they endorse a candidate, it oftentimes brings their established base along with them, which can translate to votes. And it also does something if you or I know that this group has confidence in this individual, and sometimes it gives us a little more information to feel good about our level of confidence in that individual. Now, some of these endorsements are going to have hyperlinks. If you click the hyperlink, that means that that particular endorsement came along with what is called an independent expenditure. And I think this is really important. And I want to make sure, if you don't leave this video with any other information, that you understand what an independent expenditure in a federal campaign means and how it works. So often an independent expenditure is going to be made on some sort of advertisement or communication. So a commercial on television, a radio ad, a mail piece. It's called an independent expenditure because it is made independently of the campaign. And when I say independent, the rules even say that an entity that is making an independent expenditure to a campaign, they cannot collaborate with the campaign. So if Terry Reynolds Incorporated wanted to make an independent expenditure for someone's campaign, I can't call that campaign and say, hey, let's talk about what this TV ad might say or what it's going to look like. I have to do that independent of the campaign or the candidate. These can be made by individuals or groups or organizations. Often they are done by, political organizations that have some interest in the race, but that does not have to be the case. So a couple of rules that come along with an independent expenditure. As I said, they have to be independent of the campaign. They have to be disclosed to the Federal Election Commission. That includes the amount of the expenditure, the purpose of it, and who is actually making the expenditure. You will notice when you get mail pieces, when you hear campaign commercials, when you hear radio ads, that at the end it'll say paid for by. It's really important to listen to who that paid for by, what comes after that. So oftentimes it's going to be paid for by the campaign, but sometimes if it's paid for by some group that you don't know or that you're unfamiliar with, it's likely an independent expenditure. There's rules about the content of independent expenditure. So they typically have to be either to help elect a particular candidate or defeat another candidate. So you can't vary much from that. Either the purpose is to get you to support someone or to not support someone else. Finally, and this is really important, there are no limits to independent expenditure. So if I've got $1 billion that I want to spend on IEs, independent expenditures, I can do that. The Supreme Court of the United States, and many of you may recall hearing about the Citizens United Supreme Court case. But basically, you can make these expenditures without limits. You just have to disclose all of those details that we mentioned before. These are they're very influential in our campaign life. And there have been some that are made, and you'll see the ones that I have in the spreadsheet that you can click the link. But there will be more independent expenditures in this race, particularly after we get past the runoff in April, and we have one clear Democratic candidate and one clear Republican candidate, I think you're going to see even more independent expenditure. So I think it's important for folks to understand what that means and understand the influence that outside entities can have in our race. So those are my top lines. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. If you have trouble opening the spreadsheet, because it is a Google sheet, and sometimes Google can be hit or miss. So let us know and we will get it open to you. And thank you so much for following Deuce is Wild. We'll see you next time.